Hi, I'm Mike Lowe for Digital Camera, and today we're reviewing the Pentax K5 DSLR. This new DSLR came out following on from the K7 and is now at the top of Pentax's DSLR tree. There are some significant differences, however, between this and the K7 before it. Firstly, there's a 16.3 megapixel CMOS sensor at the camera's heart, and it's also capable of shooting up to 7 frames per second in continuous focus. Additionally, you can shoot up to ISO 51200 at its top end. In terms of design, the K5 is very similar to the K7 that came out before it. The body is almost exactly the same, and this also means it's weather sealed at 77 points, so it's very rugged in use. On the rear there's a 3-inch screen which is a 921,000 dot resolution. Although it's not the highest resolution screen available on the market, it's still of a very good standard indeed. Above this there's an optical viewfinder which is a 100% field of view, so what you frame is exactly what you get in the shot, and it's a 0.92 times magnification, so the actual visible area is very large as well. The K5 also has a brand new autofocus system which is dubbed the Saphox 11 Plus system. The Plus basically stands for the fact that the sensor is now not only looking at the light that's coming in but also the frequency of the light, so it's more sensitive to certain colours of light, which ups the sensitivity and makes it more responsive. The 11 refers to the 11 focus points that there are, and compared to the K7 these are slightly differently arranged. It's got a wider array, so it has a better reach in terms of what it can focus on across the sensor. One of the key features of the K5 is that it's a weather sealed body, and it also comes in the case of the 18-55mm with a WR, which is weather resistant lens as well. The lens itself is perhaps a bit underwhelming, and to be honest it's not the best paired with this body because the body is far more capable. One of the particularly impressive features of the K5 is that it can shoot up to 7 frames per second in a continuous burst. When the camera first came out, it could only shoot around 6 or 7 frames when shooting RAW and JPEG, but if you upgrade the firmware to version 1.02, which is the most recent, then it's possible to shoot around 20 to 21 frames before the buffer fills up. Once the buffer is full, it will take around about a minute for it to fully clear, but after a couple of frames or a couple of seconds have cleared, it is possible to continue shooting to some degree as well, so the burst mode is highly effective. Whereas many Pentax DSLRs often ever so slightly underexposed, the K5 is quite different and seems to buck this trend. The new sensor seems to output slightly differently, as shots are generally always on the money and very well exposed indeed. As well as being able to shoot in JPEG, there's also a RAW mode, which is either Pentax's 14-bit PEF files, or it's also possible to shoot Adobe's universal DNG format. The new sensor coupled with the K5's processing does an absolutely fantastic job of handling image noise. This is something where it's particularly different to that of the K7 that came out before it. At the lower ISO settings, the K5 provides quality that can easily rival the Canon 60D or Nikon D7000. Where image noise gets particularly special, however, is in the mid to high ISO settings, where the processing does an exceptional job of keeping colour noise to a minimum. Of course, this is going to be at the expense of sharpness as the ISO increases, but up to around ISO 3200 images can still be taken of an acceptable quality. On the top dial there's a HD movie mode which is now capable of shooting full 1080p, although there are some restrictions to this. First of all, it's only possible to use with single autofocus, so the camera finds a single focus point and it will stick onto that focus plane. It's not possible to use continuous autofocus or use any buttons to adjust this during recording. And secondly, it's only able to shoot motion JPEG files which aren't exactly the highest quality, although saying that, the amount of data that the K5 streams out is particularly impressive and the quality is good, but the files are quite large. The K5 may seem a lot like the K7 at first glance, but it's actually significantly better. The new image sensor at the camera's heart means that the image quality is significantly better, particularly at high ISOs. It's in fact among the best in its class. The new 11-point autofocus system is also suitably impressive, although it's perhaps a little bit of a shame that this hasn't been advanced or made more complex, but that's perhaps something that the next DSLR might have to offer. There aren't particularly many downsides, although the new movie mode, despite its resolution being good, has a number of limitations that might restrict many. Stills, people might not worry about that too much, however, as the traditionalists are going to get a lot out of this camera. The 18-55mm lens might be a little bit of a downside on it, but if you opt to have the 18-135, then you'll get much more out of the match between the body and the lens itself. Overall, there's very little to moan about indeed, and we awarded the K5 90% and our Gold Award.